All right, now you're on. Okay, flip you around. Wait, how do I keep you from turning though? That's weird. Well, you're on the stick. Let's see if we can get you to stop turning. Let's see. Oh, I think we did it. And onwards you go. All right, so that's kind of cool. So anyway, well, this works. So I am now working on my Jeep and decided I'm gonna lift it, restore it, and get it ready. Or not even restore it, but build it to off-road, be that ultimate Jeep. So there's my Jeep. Wait, let's get some really cool footage there. So there's my Jeep. I don't know if you can see it or not, but so I decided I'm gonna build him actually, not a her, and I'm gonna name it Benji, and it's gonna get a lift, some monster tires, some different gearing in the rear end, different gears in the front, Detroit air lockers in the front and the back, switching out the motor. Let me show you where the motor is. That's the new engine. So that's the new engine. And so anyway, that is what I'm getting ready to do. And I'm gonna keep an account of everything I'm doing. And hopefully someone can learn what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and then maybe they can do it as well. By all means, I'm not an expert. I'm just experimenting. Anyway, well, let's see what happens. All right, let's begin the tedious fun. So you're gonna have to remove the rear end from the leaf spring. And so what you're gonna have to do is remove these U-bolts. These bolts may never come off in the life of the Jeep, so it's not gonna be easy. So remove the bolts from the U-bolt, separate the clamp, and then remove the bolt for the shock. And then do that on both sides, and then swap out the clamps on reinstall, since you're also swapping out which side of the leaf spring the rear end's gonna be on. All right, on to the next step. Let's make sure that we're jacking up this car high enough to account for the spring over axle swap. So, one tip, take off everything you can with the wheels still on. You gotta think safety. And don't forget, when you reinstall these bolts, use Loctite on the blue one. So step one, really, doesn't matter what order you do it in, as long as you remain safe. So it really doesn't matter what order you want to do it, whether you want to remove the drive shaft, if you want to remove the shocks first. But I kind of remove everything before I jack it up, because anytime you have a car jacked up, you run a higher risk of some danger. I don't know what that is, it's not mine, or not from this installation. But so I try to remove the shocks, the drive shaft, the brake lines, and then once all that's clear, then the wheels, then I'll jack up the car. Obviously I'll jack it up before I remove the wheels, but then it limits the danger that I'm in when I'm underneath the car. And always, don't forget, do an earthquake test on all the jacks that you do, or the jacks that you place underneath the car. Anyway, on to the next step. Another frustrating bolt. Don't forget, we'll have to remove this brake line. It's probably never been removed in its lifetime, so be careful, use patience, and be careful not to strip it. Time to remove the tires. Remove the lug nuts, remove the tire, and place it safely out of the way. Sometimes I like to put it under the car, but being that it's a Jeep, there's not enough room to put it under and do the swap as a safety measure. When you jack up the vehicle and have it come to a rest on the jack stands, make sure it's at a height which is workable during the swap. Too high is going to make it too hard, too low is going to make it impossible. and it's hard to make the adjustments thereafter. So keep that in mind. I recommend using some type of penetrating lube for the U-bolts ahead of time. That way it'll make your life easier in the long run. Here's a part that's simple but most commonly ends up causing some struggle. This bolt is a lot harder to remove than it looks. With tension on the bolt from the down pressure or the up pressure, it almost makes it impossible for it to come out. For some, this bolt is flipped upside down, therefore you'll have to remove your gas tank to remove it. For me, I swapped them out when I swapped out my gas tank long ago, so I have it a little easier. One really good trick is spraying it with some penetrating lube as you're pulling it out, but also using a jack and changing the pressure of the bolt from up and down and trying to find that G spot. Once you have removed the rear end, go ahead and put the leaf spring back up and put the bolts back in. Yay, we are halfway there. Now that you have the rear end out, this is where I like to grind it down to bare metal so I have a better contact for welding. This is an opportunity if you want to upgrade, update, or maintenance the rear end to do so. I found these 2.5-inch trailer perches brand new for $60 for my Dana 44 on eBay. Woohoo! Almost there. Now for the tedious part. This rear end is oddly shaped, bulky, and extremely heavy. A little more challenging when you're working on dirt, a little less challenging when you're working on concrete, but either way, it's not an easy task. Line up the rear end with the perches and get the perches in there and bolt on the U-bolts. You want to make sure that that rear end is not too far to the left or too far to the right. Otherwise, you're going to have that Jeep that the back drags. The car looks like it's going at an angle. I'm sure you've seen that on the freeway before. Once you get it lined up, start fastening down the U-bolts. Don't tighten it because you're going to have to be able to spin and rotate that rear end. Keep in mind, as you tighten down the nuts on the U-bolt, whatever angle you have your rear end at, it will start to kind of migrate and turn. So try to offset that angle just to get it right, off a few degrees. Alright, so we're pretty much close to the sweet part. Now, gotta angle this. Now, this is fully extended. Clearly it doesn't reach. So I'm gonna need a different drive shaft, a longer one. Currently, I'm gonna be lining mine up with the same angle that's coming from the transmission, since it's gonna be a regular yoke that's on this. But I recommend getting a yoke eliminator kit, and if you do, in that case you will point the shaft of the pumpkin towards the transmission. Here I'm tack welding the perches in place. I'm not fully welding it until I know the angle is correct. Once everything's bolted down, tightened down. Tack weld is a lot easier to break than a full weld. Do that for both sides, put the tires back on, and you are off to the races. The front's about the same process, minus the sway bar. And there you go, folks. That's my first video. If you liked the video, hit that like button and please subscribe. Thanks for your support. Bye.